Welcome to this restorative yoga class for your hips and lower back. My name is Melissa. For this class, you're going to need 2 blocks, a bolster, and a blanket. We're going to start in constructive rest pose. There are 2 ways that you can do this, and you can choose the one that you would like best. One way is to put your blocks at the foot of your mat and to have your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor with your feet on the blocks. And you can try them both. The other way would be to take your feet a little bit wider and let your knees fall towards each other. So try them both, see which one works best for you today. There's no right or wrong or better best. Just which one's going to feel better for you today in your hips and your low back. And you can stay here. You're going to be here for about 5 minutes. I'll keep the time for you and sit up and share with you the teachings and the intention for this class. Just settle into the ground. Feel the support of the earth here. And breathe into your belly and your low back. So this restorative yoga class is a nervous system informed practice with both somatic experiencing and internal family systems reflections with lots of space for silence as well. This class is designed to restore, open, and gently expand your hips and lower back, increasing flexibility and stability. And by integrating internal family systems and somatic experiencing into each pose, we will allow space to explore bodily sensations and engage in gentle inquiry while having lots of space to rest in silence as well. This is not a deep dive emotional release class, although it could be if you wanted it to be, but there's lots of space for light, spaciousness, and easeful exploration of how our body holds life force energy, creativity, and adaptability. So allow yourself to feel the support of the earth. Notice how your body feels here in this first pose, and just give yourself a chance to arrive here now. Notice where your body wants to settle and soften. And you can observe without needing to shift or change anything, without judging, just bringing a curiosity, a compassionate curiosity to how your hips and lower back feel supported by the ground here. And as you're resting here in constructive rest, ask yourself if there is a part of you that is holding tension here. As you scan through your body, notice if there's a part of you holding tension here. And if there is, when you notice that part, notice what it wants to say. There's no need to fix or change it. Just allow yourself to open with curiosity and listen to what this part that's holding tension wants to say. Okay, so you can take a deep breath. Just check in and see if there's any intention that you want to carry with you of what you want to receive in this restorative class for your hips and lower back. And then we'll move into our next restorative yoga pose, which you're going to need all your props for. So you're going to take your blocks and you're going to set them up at the head of your mat. You're going to have them a high block and a medium block. And then you're going to take your bolster and your blanket. You'll take your bolster and you'll place it on an incline. And then you'll take your blanket and we're going to create a roll for our blanket. We're going to do reclined bound angle pose. So sit your buttocks right at the edge of your mat. Bring the soles of your feet together. Allow your knees to open. Take your roll over your feet and then under your ankles so that it provides some comfortable support. And then you're going to rest back over your bolster. And again, you're going to be in this pose for 5 minutes. And allow yourself to be fully supported by the props. Let yourself soften into them fully. So allow gentle gravity to do all the work here. And just check in with your body here and ask yourself if you're allowing yourself to soften or if there's any resistance here that you can let go anymore. And then also check in and see where you're feeling sensation, maybe inside of your hips, maybe in the outer hips, or maybe there's sensation elsewhere in your body. And check in and see if there's a part of you that wants to control this restorative yoga pose. Is there a controlling part? And ask yourself, what would it feel like to soften just 10% more in this pose? What would it feel like to soften even just 10% more in this pose? Okay, take a breath. Then we're going to slowly make our way out of this pose. And we're going to come into our next restorative yoga pose. And you're going to bring your bolster to the head of your mat here. And I think you can put your blocks off to the side for this one. You probably will want to have your blanket close by here. We're going to do restorative pigeon pose next. You could use your blocks to lift your bolster a little bit here. That will make things a little more restorative here. We won't be holding this pose for as long. We're going to do 3 minutes aside here. And you may want your blanket here underneath your hip, which will fill the space and make the pose more restorative. So I'm just making a little square. You could put a cushion underneath your hips as well. So you're going to come up onto all fours and then slide your right leg forward, lean your left leg back, and then just fill that space underneath your hip and fold forward over onto your bolster. Now, if you're feeling a lot of pressure into your right knee here, then you're going to come onto your back instead or you could even lift your bolster up even more. That should take pressure off. Or you can come onto your back, if this is a no-go for your knees, and do a reclined figure 4 instead, a sleeping pigeon. It's nice to do it against the walls so that you don't have to hold your foot in the whole time, but that's also an option here as well. So lots of choice. We don't want to hurt our knees. We don't want our knees to be hurting in the pose. So choose and look after yourself. And it could also be a good idea to, if you have a foam roller, to pause the video here and roll out your glutes before you do this pose. And that'll make the pigeon pose a lot easier for your glutes and your knees. Prepare your body. Okay. Or tune-up balls or whatever you have. Okay, so let's come into this pose for 3 minutes. Let's take a few minutes here just to settle in so that we're allowing our props to support us fully here. So in this pose, ask yourself, where do you feel energy moving? And where do you feel stillness? And if this pose had a color or texture, what would that be? And I know right before this pose, I recommended rolling out your glutes before coming into this pose as a way to help your nervous system adapt to come into a more challenging pose like pigeon so that it could actually be a restorative pose. And that's something we actually do a lot of inside our membership community. We do a lot of nervous system adaptation so that we can hold more energy, navigate change with more ease. And we do a lot of myofascial release in there as well. So if that's something that interests you, you could check out those practices there, particularly if you're a member. Okay, take a breath. And then we're going to come up. And you're either going to take that sleeping pigeon or you're going to take the pigeon on the other side. So this time you're going to cross your left leg over your right, or bring your left leg forward and reach your right leg back and long. Fill the space with a blanket. You're going to be in this pose for 3 minutes. And as you're resting into the props here, just see if there's a part of you that hesitates to fully relax here. And our hips are a lot about our creative energy. So if there was a message from your creative energy, what would it be? Okay, so you're going to slowly make your way out of this pose. And you can leave the same setup for the next pose. Okay, the next pose is restorative child's pose. If this is going to be hard on your knees, again, you could come onto your back and do knees to chest pose instead. A nice way to make it more restorative is to cross your hands and hold onto your knees and create a sling for it here. You're going to be in this pose for 5 minutes. Or you could come into restorative child's pose. You can lift your bolster with your blocks, and then you have a nice spot to put your hands. You can also roll up your blanket and put it behind your knees. Sometimes even just a little bit makes a big difference in taking pressure off your knees here. So you're going to be in this pose for 5 minutes. And in this pose, I want you to breathe into your low back. So this is a beautiful, gentle compression, decompression to support your low back. Notice if this pose feels nurturing. And imagine as you're in this pose that your low back is sighing. And if your low back were sighing in this pose, what would it be releasing? Okay, take a breath. And we're going to release this, come onto your back. So you're going to need your bolster for this. You can put it on the left side of your mat. Put your blocks off to the side. Notice how your low back and your hips are feeling. You're going to lie on your back, bend your right knee, extend your left leg, press into your right foot, tuck your left hip under, bring your right knee up onto the bolster so you're in a reclined twist. You're going to be in this pose for 5 minutes. So as you're in this pose, feel the releasing and unwinding through your spine and your low back. So notice where you feel the most release in your spine. And notice how it feels to be in a rotation and a twisting position in your body. Take a breath. And you're going to come back onto your back, and as you do, notice how it feels to unwind. Notice the difference between the right and the left side of your body. And then you're going to take your bolster over to the right side of your body. You're going to have your right leg extended now, your left leg bent. Tuck your right hip under, bring your left leg up onto the bolster. And then you're going to open your left arm up. And give yourself a chance to settle in here. Notice that the twist will feel different on this side. So in this reclined twist, ask yourself if there's a part of you holding on to something tightly. Is there a part of you holding on to something tightly? And what would happen if it softened just a little? What would happen if it softened just a little? Okay, take a breath. And again, as you slowly come out of this pose, notice what it feels like to unwind. I'm going to give you two options for your final resting pose. You could do legs up the wall. If you have low back issues, that might not be the most comfortable because your legs are fully extended. That might bother your low back. You could do legs up a chair, legs up your couch. That might be more comfortable. Or you could do reclined Shavasana with a bolster underneath your knees, which is going to be probably more comfortable for your low back. So that would look like this. That might be a more comfortable position for your low back. So try them out, see what feels most comfortable for you today. And then I'm going to sit up and talk you through this final integration pose. You feel into the support of the floor beneath you. And notice any subtle shifts in your breathing, in your body. In your emotions. Also notice what's changed for you since the beginning of the class. Notice how your hips are feeling, how your low back is feeling. And when you tune into your body, what's one message that your body's giving you now towards the end of the class? Your body is a wise teacher. Your hips hold the energy of adaptability, not just flexibility. Your low back carries strength, but it doesn't need to bear the world alone. So when you move forward into the world, trust that ease and support are available for you in every moment. Here's a poem for you called The Swan by Mary Oliver. Do you too see it, drifting all night on the black river? Do you too see it in the morning, rising into the silvery air? An armful of white blossoms, a perfect commotion of silk and linen as it leaned into the bondage of its wings, a snowbank, a bank of lilies, biting the air with its black beak. Did you hear it fluting and whistling? A shrill dark music like the rain pelting the trees like a waterfall, knifing down the black ledges. And did you see it finally just under the clouds? A white cross streaming across the sky, its feet like black leaves, its wings like stretching light of the river. And did you feel it in your heart, how it pertained to everything? And have you too finally figured out what beauty is for? Have you changed your life? So slowly wiggle and stretch out. Start to deepen your breath. Bend your knees and roll to your side. You can start to make your way up to seated. And as you do, just imagine a world where we can soften into the support of the earth that's always here, where we can release our burdens and where we can know we can reach out for support. That's what we did in this class today. And if that resonated with you, then I'd love it if you would share it with somebody else who could benefit from a class like this. If you would like this video, if you'd subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and put ease and support in the comments as a way to reinforce what you learned here today, and also to let others know and the algorithm know that this video was of value to you. And the world is moving so quickly, we can feel it so fast. Many of us are feeling it in our bodies, that kind of anxiety and anxiousness, that buzziness. And that's why I'm supporting our members this month with nervous system regulation through times of spiritual ascension. If that sounds like something that you would like, then and you would like to go deeper with, then be sure to check out the first link below here in the description to join us in our membership. I'd love to support you there.